Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Hobo here today, and today we're going to be talking about my opinion on if Seth Rollins is a safe or unsafe worker or not. As many of us all know, Seth Rollins is my favorite WWE superstar, but putting my personal bias for Seth aside, we have to take into consideration all the people that he has been in the ring with, coincidentally ending up with either him or them getting hurt. The sunset flip powerbomb with Kane when he tore his ACL, MCL, and meniscus in his right knee. And in the weeks leading up to SummerSlam 2015, Seth shattered John Cena's nose with a flying knee. And then, of course, one of the more infamous cases with Sting, the buckle bombs that he delivered to Sting. He gave him 2, and that ended up ending Sting's in-ring career. Then, this most recent occasion, SummerSlam 2016, with Finn Balor giving him the buckle bomb into the barricade, and that also ended up in Finn Balor tearing his shoulder apart, and now he's going to be out until probably around Royal Rumble time, maybe a little later than that. Everybody's got their own opinions on this situation, and it's such a terrible thing when anybody gets hurt. You know, you just got to analyze the situations for what they are. How did it happen? Why did it happen? But the whole thing with Seth Rollins is unsafe and he's a terrible worker, the company should release him, is nonsense. People get hurt in the ring. I mean, look at Samoa Joe. He's a guy who does the muscle buster every night. He's probably done it 100,000 times in his entire career. And that on one occasion, he delivers a muscle buster to Tyson Kidd, and now Tyson Kidd's career is over, and he'll never wrestle again. He does have no feeling in his neck because of that muscle buster. That's like saying, all right, Joe needs to be released because he just ended someone's career. Seth did the same thing, but you also got to look at everything else that Seth did, like busting Cena's nose. But Cena's nose was a completely different situation because Cena went in too far, Rollins went in too hard. That's null and void. Both guys had a problem there. They're incredible workers together. It's just a fluke thing. Cena has said that he went in too far. Rollins has said that he went in too far as well. Rollins has said that he drove his knee in too far. That is the Balor situation is what's really gotten the most attention. But we're going to stick with Sting really quick, and then we'll go to Balor. My whole defensive point for the Sting injury is, why do you have a 50-year-old man taking a power bomb into the turnbuckle not once but twice? In that match, Sting also went to the top rope and flew off of the top rope. And not only that, he took a back body drop through an announce table. Why is he taking these bumps at 50 years old? Seth Rollins and Sting did not need to have a physical match like that. You can have a good technical match without the bells and whistles and the smoke and mirrors to try to hide the fact that Sting is old and he can't work the way that he used to. This isn't WCW Sting. This isn't early TNA Sting. We have a completely different person on our hands than we did back then. So you cannot blame Seth Rollins for that. I blame the company for putting Seth in that position to have to work with a 50-year-old man who shouldn't take those bumps anyway. Then with Finn Balor, you want to talk about the fluke of all flukes? That is what the definition of fluke is. Finn Balor has taken a buckle bomb into the corner before. You know he has. He's wrestled all over the globe with thousands of opponents. A lot of them, I'm sure, do power bombs into the corner like that. But Seth Rollins, he just because it's Seth Rollins, I guess, he power bombs him into the corner, doesn't get enough oomph on it to push him far enough, and Balor sticks his arm out to cushion his fall a little bit too much, and then he tears his arm. That's a terrible thing, true, but you gotta blame both guys in that situation. Seth for not pushing him far enough, and Finn for not trying to protect himself properly. Now, he did everything he could, and it was still a fluke thing that he tore his shoulder up, but in no way is it Seth Rollins' fault 100%. He is not a bad worker. He is not a man who goes out there with reckless abandon and attempts to injure everybody he steps in the ring with. You know how many matches Seth Rollins has had in his entire career? Thousands of matches. But since he's joined WWE, they've put him in situations where he can't even win in a sense because things just happen around you. And I know that that's kind of a wishy-washy way to attack the situation, but that's how it really is. Things happen in the wrestling business. People get hurt all the time. It's not a new concept. When Owen Hart dropped Stone Cold Steve Austin on his neck and broke his neck, were people clamoring for Owen Hart to leave the WWE because he's an unsafe worker? Hell no, because Owen Hart is still one of the best workers in that company at the time. You need a guy like that on the roster. And it's a fluke thing that Steve Austin wasn't able to cushion his head up in Owen's lap more. Things like that, just they're more cannon fodder for me because everybody gets hurt. The Joe and Tyson Kidd incident and Austin and Owen, those situations, they got hurt, right? But they've done those moves thousands and thousands of times. So how are you going to say that these guys are unsafe, but everybody else that they've ever worked with could take that fine? You've got to blame not only the performer of the move, but the person receiving the move and taking the bump. It's a shared effort. You can't be a guy like Vince Russo who goes out there and bashes this man for absolutely no reason. So let's quote here what Vince Russo said about Seth Rollins. This is a direct quote from Vince Russo. Also, as part of that work, as a performer, your job is to protect your opponent. Your responsibility is to make sure he doesn't get hurt in the work. In turn, he returns that favor. But let's face it, work or no work, guys, gals are going to get hurt. Wrestling is a physical contact sport, and somewhere along the line, there's going to be a certain level of error on somebody's part. However, with Seth Rollins, we're not just talking about error, but rather at times reckless abandon. End quote. That is BS. That's nonsense. He basically just agreed with everything that I said, talking about how people do get hurt all the time in the wrestling business because it's a physical contact sport. But this is just, he put a target on Seth Rollins and he started shooting blindly. This doesn't make any sense. It's not Seth Rollins' fault. Seth Rollins is a safe worker. He's a man who goes out there with the same intention that every other WWE superstar, any indie star, any TNA star, any ROH star, anybody, any PWG star, any wrestler on the face of the planet goes out into the ring with the intent to do one thing and one thing well, and that is to protect his or her opponent. Nobody goes out into the ring and says, you know what, today I'm going to beat up my opponent. Maybe in Japan you hear things like that, but those people in Japan are crazy, and that's just a completely different world. And I know that there was a situation where two girls got into the ring and then one beat the ever-loving hell out of the other one, legitimately beat her up, and she was in a coma, I think, and needed facial reconstructive surgery, there you go. But Japan aside, Seth Rollins has worked all over the country. Maybe even in Europe. I don't know. I haven't read the entire Seth Rollins backstory, even though he's my favorite superstar. He has done these things his entire life. He knows how to do them. But the more that people start thinking, you know, this guy's unsafe, the more he's going to go out there and he's going to try to protect these guys more and more and more. And we all know, or most of everybody knows, if you stiffen up during a bump, you are going to hurt yourself. You need to relax in the ring. And when people keep putting this kind of pressure on Seth Rollins to, oh, don't hurt these guys, don't hurt them, please don't hurt them, every time he steps in the ring with somebody, damn it, Seth, you just hurt him. No, come on. The company even made fun of it too the night after SummerSlam when he worked with Sami Zayn and they had Sami Zayn work the ankle injury because they know Seth Rollins isn't a terrible worker who needs to be fired because he's reckless. They know that it's fluke things that are happening, and it just so happens Seth Rollins is in the middle of all these things. You want to talk about a guy who worked with quote-unquote reckless abandon? Look at Mr. Kennedy. He's a guy who's gone on record many times as hurting the top stars in the company. He hurt Orton, he hurt Cena, he, I believe, hurt Undertaker at some level, but that's something that you can't excuse when you hurt top guys like that over and over and over, and the top guys complain. But when if you hurt somebody and the top guys don't complain and they defend the person who's doing these things, then that's a completely different situation. Because Finn Balor went out and defended Seth Rollins. He said, and I'm going to quote here his what he had to say about it on the Ross Report, which is JR's podcast. He said, quote, "People are entitled to their opinions, but as far as my opinion goes, I've been hurt a lot of times working, and it's never been with Seth Rollins. Obviously, if you work a lot, you're going to get hurt. This just happened coincidentally, and I just so happen to be working with Seth. So as far as I'm concerned, Seth is one of, if not the best performer we have in this business. I feel that all of the flack he gets is totally unwarranted. Any kind of slack he gets for being unsafe is really ridiculous. I completely agree. People, they really bash Seth Rollins for no reason. He is the guy in the WWE, and he will be for years and years to come. Him and Roman Reigns are going to carry this company into the next 10 to 15 years. And people need to understand that. And you can't keep going out there and you can't keep saying Seth hurts people. He doesn't. It's everybody who hurts them. It's WWE who hurts them. It's the sport of professional wrestling that hurts these guys. You put the pressure on Seth Rollins, he's going to get more and more dangerous to work with because you keep saying, like I said, you keep saying, oh, he's unsafe, so he's going to go out there and he's going to be overly protective, and then he's either going to hurt himself or he's going to keep hurting people, and that's not good. So all of the flack that he gets is just going to make the situation a whole lot more dangerous. And I'm not a fan of everybody who keeps saying that he's unsafe. That's why I had to come out here and let you all know that Seth Rollins is not an unsafe worker. He is the man for a reason. The company wouldn't put the ball with Seth Rollins if he had some sort of problem with hurting people. He wouldn't be wrestling in the Hell in a Cell in 2 weeks for the WWE Universal Championship if he was unsafe. He'd be in the mid-card, or he'd be a jobber getting squashed every week by Braun Strowman, or hell, he wouldn't even be in the company. People need to understand that. For all the wrongs, quote-unquote, that WWE does to them creatively and behind the scenes, even though the people think they know what goes on back there, but they really don't, a bunch of stupid idiots, they would not give Seth Rollins the opportunity to be the star he is if he was not the pinnacle of professional wrestling. If John Cena had hurt 3 or 4 top guys on his way up, imagine how the people would have reacted. The same way. But guess what? The company would have known, this is our guy. This is John Cena, and he is going to carry our company. And you know where we would be today? The exact same position. We're going to look back on this in 10 to 15 years to say, wow, this was really stupid. You know, Seth never intended to hurt these guys. It was a fluke thing. Now, I'm sure Seth is going to hurt somebody down the road, and I'm sure Seth's going to get hurt down the road, and I'm sure Roman Reigns is going to hurt somebody down the road, and I'm sure he's going to get hurt, and so on and so forth. That's the nature of the beast in professional wrestling. People get hurt, people hurt. That's what happens. That is it. That's professional wrestling. It's entertainment, and it's people getting hurt. I know that I just dumbed that down and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it does. If you think about it, it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. Seth Rollins is not an unsafe worker, ladies and gentlemen, and I just wanted to let you all know that. And that's going to do it for me, your boy Hobo. If you agree with me or disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below, and I will be sure to get into a highly educated argument with you. And if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. It means so much. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And that's going to do it for me, your boy Hobo. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.